I had such a hard time starting out comedy. I didn't have any confidence. I didn't have any experience. I didn't have anyone I knew that I could reach out to. It took me a long process of 5 years of attempting and failing multiple times until I finally figured out how to start comedy. And today I want to tell that story.
Get along, little doggy. Get along with me.
My first attempt to do comedy, I didn't even get on stage. I'd written down a bunch of jokes. I put them on note cards. I took the train into Philadelphia. I got off at 30th Street Station. I walked around 30th Street Station. I got scared. I got nervous. I chickened out. So I got on the next train home. I just went straight home. And that was my first attempt. Not successful. My second attempt at doing stand-up comedy was also probably my second most successful attempt. I was talking to a friend from high school. He was like, hey, you want to hang out? I was like, sure, let's hang out. Let's figure something out. Then he was like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go into the city and you can watch me do stand-up comedy. And I was like, I'm not watching you doing stand-up comedy. I'm doing stand-up comedy with you. And he was like, okay, fine, sounds great. So we both take the train. We go to the open mic place. It was a place on South Street. This is 2013. We go up there. It's a first come, first serve basis. They say signups had started like an hour before the mic start. That's not true. A lot of people had gotten there an extra hour earlier, so we were pretty late on the sign-up sheet. And we sit down. Our last train leaves at midnight. And the show starts at 8. First hour goes by. 9, 10, 11, and 11:30, and it's starting to approach 12, and I'm like, we can't miss the train. This is crazy. I was just really freaking out. My friend's like, it's okay. We can do this. And then about 11:45, they call his name. So he goes up first. And we had both never done stand-up comedy before. And I had the decision earlier when I signed us both up. I was like, I'll put me after him because I'm probably going to do better than him. Well, he gets up. He's got like a paper that he written out and he was just reading word for word. And he destroys with the most dirty stuff ever. He destroys. He's talking about jerking his dick off, frothy cum. People go crazy. There's someone in the crowd who sees him and books him on a show. People are buying him drinks. I'm just sitting in the back being like, fuck, I'm next. Fuck, how am I gonna follow this? And I get up next. The bit I had prepared was about how I thought everyone who went to mixed martial arts gyms were douchebags. I definitely don't stand behind it since I've never went to a mixed martial arts gym, but at least I had something that I wanted to talk about. It was bad. I bombed. I should have expected to bomb. Of course I was going to bomb, but I followed my friend who just killed it. The second mic we did was at an urban room, and we didn't know what that was or what urban rooms were. So we get there, and it's a very different style of comedy, which was strange to us. I got up, I bombed, and that was that. I do comedy for 2 more weeks, and then the last time I do comedy, I bomb. I think I'm talking about cutting my arm off or something like that. It just didn't make any sense. I was obviously new. Then the host gets up after me and just starts going like, oh, that was horrible, you know? And that pissed me the fuck off, and I didn't do comedy again for 3 years. My second time doing comedy was pretty uneventful. I did 2 open mics. The first one was at this old, rickety, broken down bar. The type of place that I would enjoy now, but at the time it was a little scary because it brought out all these crazies, all these strange characters. Someone brought out this Fisher-Price tape recorder, started dancing around and singing the Philadelphia song, which now I would love, but at the time I was like, what the hell is this? The second open mic I did was actually a really good room. I drove to New Jersey. I went up, and the first joke I did was a pedophile joke, and the minute I did it, I felt this coldness rush in. I think the joke was something along the lines of, ever be watching a movie and you realize the director was accused of pedophilia multiple times? Not a real joke. And at that moment, I thought to myself, oh yeah, this is not the type of joke I want to be doing. And then for the rest of the set, I just talked about how stupid that was, how silly that was, and actually did well, to the point when I got off stage, the host was like, hey, I hope you come back next week. But the next week, I think the weather was really bad, so I didn't leave the house. And then after that, I never got the commitment and motivation to come back to that mic for another year. My final, and as of now, most successful attempt at starting comedy. I drove to that same room in New Jersey. It was right after Trump's inauguration, early 2017. So almost every joke was about Trump. I went up late. I didn't do that well, but I had a plan this time. I had a plan. I had a bit that I wanted to work on, which was about the hidden camera Pizza Hut commercials that were running at the time, which were tricking people into eating their pasta dishes. I think I called them stupid or something, which is not what I do at the time, but that worked for me, and that made me feel comfortable. That's the bit that made me comfortable doing stand-up. I didn't discover my voice and what kind of bits I wanted to do till a little later, but that's a story for a different time. And the plan that ultimately kept me going was I did all the New Jersey, South Jersey mics because they were a long drive away. No one I would ever know would ever show up to those mics, so it's comforting in that perspective. And so for the first month, I just did 2 to 3 mics a month, and then after that, I started expanding. The key for me was managing my expectations and not being too hard on myself when I failed at something, which was and still is a difficult mental task for me. I still have a lot of work to go in that field. Thankfully, I think at this point I'm too deep in to quit. Nothing will stop me from doing stand-up now, except for some global pandemic that shuts the entire world down. That's the only thing that can stop me doing stand-up. But that will never happen. And if it does happen, as soon as it's over, as soon as things go back to normal, I'm doing stand-up.
Never asking why I'm always in a million places at once. I've never had enough to let you add your thoughts on how I think I changed. My fault.